Good morning. We are now called to order the meeting of the security panel. Item 1 on the agenda, confirmation of minutes. We had a special meeting on the 28th of January, and on the 27th of February, the minutes of that meeting were issued to members. And we haven't received any proposals for amendments from members. So may I suggest that we confirm the minutes? Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda, information papers issued since the last meeting. We haven't got any. Mr. Dennis Kwok, however, has written to the panel requesting that collocation with regard to the express rail link be included on the list of outstanding items for discussion. Mr. Kwok, do you have anything to add? We'll arrange for the item to be discussed as soon as possible. Ms. Lau. Yes, I agree that this item should be discussed by the panel. And let's also invite members of the AJLS panel to join the discussion. I think we should invite them to join the meeting when we discuss this issue. Yes. Mr. Kwok? Yes, I think this is important. And because of the constitutional issues at stake, maybe the DOJ should also be invited to come to talk about the constitutional dimension. All right. So I understand that members wish to discuss this item as soon as possible. And we'll invite members from the AJS panel to join the discussion. Ms. Emily Lau, I think Mr. Kwok's point is important. Now, if the security panel discusses the issue, then the administration will send security bureau officials to attend the meeting, and maybe officials from other bureaus may not attend the meeting. Now, we may not want to have a joint panel meeting, but then if this mechanism has to be triggered in order that all the relevant officials from all relevant bureaus will attend. Chairman, I trust that you will make the necessary arrangements. Yes, point taken. Mr. James Toh. Chairman, in fact, it's simple. May I request, and in fact, Mr. Dennis Kwok has already made the request, and that is, when we discuss this issue, the DOJ must send a representative to attend the meeting. Right, any further comments on this one? No? Then item 3 on the agenda, date of next meeting and items for discussion. The next meeting will be held on the 5th of April after the Easter break. So this is not the usual date for our regular meetings. The administration has proposed 2 items for discussion. First, truck situation in Hong Kong in 2012. Second, replacement of 3 existing and procurement of 1 additional turntable ladders for the FSD. Now, in fact, we do have a list of outstanding items for discussion, and I think we can deal with one item on that list. I would suggest that we discuss item 7 on the list in April, police's handling of public meetings and processions. All right? So we will also deal with item 7 on the list. Yes, Chairman. Can you ask the police to also explain the arrangement whereby PTU have a lens or lenses with them? So I hope that they can explain the policy to us. Thank you. Now, I understand that this point is related to how the police handle public meetings and processions. So I just want them to include in the information paper this new policy or this trial scheme. I want to know the objective of the trial scheme, the background, how long the trial scheme is going to last, the cost implications, and so on and so forth. Right? Any further comments? No? Then we can move on to item 4 on the agenda, management succession in the ICAC. So please invite the officials in. We've got paper CB2 69603 and also CB2 16501. And the Secretariat has prepared a background brief for us as well. We have with us Mr. Simon Pei, Commissioner ICAC, and Mrs. Jenny Ouyang, Acting Assistant Director Administration. Good morning. We've got a paper from the administration, and that's paper CB2 696-03. Commissioner, would you like to take us through the paper? Yes, thank you, Chairman. I want to say two things first, Chairman. Now today, as I have an official function to attend, I hope that this item can be concluded by the scheduled finishing time. And then yesterday, after 5 p.m., we received notification from the Secretariat asking for some information. And because of the shortage of time, I was not able to prepare all the information needed. But of course, I will still report to members the wastage rate within the ICAC. Chairman, in July last year, Mr. Ryan Wong became the head of operations, and members expressed some concerns, and there were also concerns about succession management succession in the ICAC. In fact, I provided members with two papers, one on the 5th of November, one on the 22nd of February. Now, in the first report or paper, I gave members the background concerning the appointment of Mr. Ran Wong as head of operations. Now, the former head of operations, Mr. Daniel Lee, reached his retirement age in December 2011. But then because of operational needs, his contract was extended on 2 occasions. The first extension was until the 17th of April 2012, and then the second extension was until the 31st of July 2012. My understanding was that during that period, Mr. Lee did not rule out the possibility of further extensions to his service. But then on the 18th of June 2012, Mr. Daniel Lee requested that his service agreement be curtailed. He did not want any further extension of his service, and he would cease his active service with the commission from the 19th of July 2012. So at the time there was a vacancy with regard to this post of head of operations. Now, given the unique nature of this this post and the sensitivity of the work involved, now the head of operations must have ample experience in investigating corruption-related offences in both the public and private sectors. So the choice of candidates was rather limited. The choice of candidates, other than from internal promotion, could reasonably be limited to those officers who have retired at the rank above AD in recent years. Now, under the head of operations, there were 2 directors, one responsible for government sector, the other responsible for private sector. Now, one director, or the 2 directors, I should say, were not experienced enough to be immediately promoted to the rank of head of operations. And concerning the 4 assistant directors, they, of course, were not experienced enough to be promoted to head of operations. And Mr. Ryan Wong was the youngest among the those considered suitable. In January 2012, he reached retirement age. He proceeded on pre-retirement leave, and that period was for 6 months. So the vacancy arose on the 19th of July 2012, and so he returned to ICAC on that day to be the head of operations. On the 19th of July, in fact, he was still on leave. So he was still on the active establishment of the ICAC. In other words, ICAC was still giving him pay, so to speak. And at that time, he had already served ICAC for 34 years, and for 6 years he was the head of operations. He was extremely experienced. Or rather, he was director of investigation for 6 years. And he just reached retirement age. He was in good health, and his assuming the post of head of operations would not block the promotion of any existing staff. And his appointment was considered as, in effect, an extension of his service beyond the age of 60, which met the prevailing ICAC policy for extension of service on very exceptional operational grounds. Now, the appointment of the former DGS will bring immediate relief to the succession pressure in the operations department, and is in the overall interest of the ICAC, where potential officers will be given adequate time to be groomed and tested to meet succession needs. And in the second paper, I report to members the policy on management succession. Like all the government departments, we fill vacancies mainly through internal promotion. In fact, we have a robust succession plan. We provide training. We provide suitable postings so as to groom successors to deal with staff's changes caused by retirement, resignation, or health. And ICAC will also be able to continue to operate effectively. Now, in fact, ICAC has all along had a robust succession plan. But then ICAC was set up about 4 decades ago. And in the past few years, many experienced staff members retired. In June 2012, Mr. Daniel Lee requested that his service agreement be curtailed. And as a result, the situation with regard to succession to the post of head of operations was not that satisfactory. Now, we attach great importance to succession, and we know that we are having an increasing workload. We also make sure that there are adequate staff members at different ranks to meet the long-term needs of ICAC. If we need extra manpower resources, we'll make such applications to the electrical.
We'll continue to increase the efficiency and try to fill up the vacancy, and also provide more training so that there can be smooth succession. For example, in October 2012, we launched a large-scale recruitment exercise to try to fill the vacancies left by CACO and ACACOs. And we've recruited 12. We actually interviewed or received applications from 12,000 people. And in exercising its role, our staff establishment and administration actually are monitored by a advisory committee comprising various outstanding figures. Our succession plan will continue to be smooth, and it will be carried out in an orderly manner as well. Should there be any changes in the situation, we will report to the advisory committee on corruption. And I have prepared you with 2 papers to give you the explanation. As for the turnover at ICAC, I can report to you some figures that I've got. On the whole, the turnover at ICAC in 2007 amounted to 9.3%. In 2008 is 7.8%. 2009 is 5.1%, and 2010 is 5.1%, and 2011 is 6.3%. 2012 is 5.6%. So from these percentages, you can see that the situation has stabilized in recent years. So, Chairman, that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Pei. I'd like to ask how many of our members have questions. Mr. Pei said they had to leave before 11:40. So we need to make sure that everyone has a chance to ask questions. Right now we've got Emily Lau, James To, and others. Any more? Well, if there are people who want to ask questions again, then I would need to reduce the time for each member. And then there's Albert Ho also want to ask questions. Okay, each one of you will have 5 minutes for quick Q&A. Emily Lau. Thank you, Chairman. I hope that officials, including the Commissioner, please don't give us a time limit. We invited you for a meeting, but I hope that you can prepare ample time for us. We didn't ask you to come all the time. We have important questions to discuss with you by inviting you to come here. I hope you understand. In your paper for us, even though you said you submitted a paper to us before, but there are only 3 paragraphs in your paper. I don't know what you are actually up to. You know, we're all very busy, and I only looked at your paper yesterday, and through the Secretariat, I got your approval, Chairman, to ask the ICAC, if you are to talk about turnover rates here, you should have given us the data beforehand instead of just reading them out just now. But I'm more concerned about the Office of Operations. I asked them about acting posts. Just then, the commissioner asked answer questions about the succession issue. Mr. Daniel Lee left the post, and then they asked a retired person, Mr. Wong, to take up the post. The reason is because the existing directors, one had been in the duty for 1 year, and the other was in an acting position. So it's not really doing the position as in his full capacity. So you told us that the turnover rate has improved. That's the overall situation. But you know that operations department is very, very important. It carries out investigations. And we know that recently some of your senior officers have left for the IPCC. So we are really worried. If you don't have good succession, well, you said you have a good planning. For example, there's an advisory committee on corruption. I wonder what that committee has done. Whoever is the police commissioner, people know who will be future successor, but not like you in your organization. Mr. Lee had to leave, and then before his due date, and he wasn't really leaving much early in advance, and you had to get someone retired, to fill up the post because you didn't have any manpower. That means there are problems with your succession plan. So let me tell the commissioner, ICAC is very important to the people of Hong Kong. I don't want to see that you actually failed in your job. I don't want to see, there was a woman, dressed in white who was standing outside your office and saying that she really thanked the ICC for its work because this really actually helped tackle corruption. I think if you made a fuss or made the ICC feel to live up to its responsibility, then is outrageous. Commissioner, we'll continue to provide you with the Secretariat with the figures. ICAC, of course, as I said before, we are approaching our 40th anniversary. People who joined the ICAC in early years are about to retire. But in fact, we have kept recruiting every year young people to join our staff. Chairman, please explain to us why the two directors, one was in an acting position and one was only could only be in a role for 1 year. Why is there such an arrangement? Well, Commissioner, that's the situation back then. One director was in acting for one position. So one had been in the post for 1 year, and the other was in an acting position because Mr. Wong, in January 2012, Mr. Wong retired and he went on leave, and therefore there was an assistant director who took up an acting role. Yeah, but I was asking, why did you allow this situation to happen? If you had a good succession plan, then you would have had people ready to take up the vacancies. I know you have not been in your post for a long time, but you need to tell us the truth. Why are there such bad arrangements with succession? Commissioner, as I said, because Mr. Wong at the time before he retired, he had to leave, and therefore we arranged for someone to take up his position in an acting capacity. Because the director post is supposed to allow someone to be in a post for some time before we can confirm the position. But if you only give that person such a short time to do the job, you know that you should have known that who is supposed to leave and who should be in line to succeed. And how can you get someone who is retired to come back? I hope that you would not destroy the system at ICAC. James told. Well, people who, I think it's not ideal to get someone who has already left to be asked to come back. But I think this is not a problem with ICAC because ICAC maybe doesn't have much choice. I think there are several people in question. One is the former commissioner and the former director of operations, Mr. Lee, Daniel Lee, head of operations. So I think if both senior figures left, then there will be a problem with succession. The problem is all these people joined the force at the same time. They left at about the same time. So you have to remember that we knew about this all time ago. Before Commissioner Tong, his predecessor knew about what's going to happen. I'm not saying that the older or more experienced people should be asked to leave. But if you had some ways to groom those in junior positions to take up the post, that would be a better arrangement. I don't know why. Maybe you could, maybe you can enjoy, let people, staff to have longer holidays first. If someone wants to be in a position and does not want to leave or want to have his post extended for several months, of course, there may not be much you can do. But I hope that the commissioner can think clearly what the future arrangement should be. I think in the past the arrangement was bad. Even as some people are leaving at the same time, the arrangement was not good at all. I found that unacceptable. And I think ICAC is very special. I think there were rumors that over a short period of time that the head of a disciplined force was rumored to be joining or asked to join ICAC, but that's impossible because the work of ICAC is unique. So I hope that from now on, you have to come up with a good succession plan that gives people confidence in the police force. They may have people leaving at the same time. I know it's a much bigger organization, and they have more choices of people to succeed. But at least you need to spot how many years from now who may be in line to take up some senior positions. I'd like to ask you the amount of turnover rate. You said there are 5 to 6% of turnover rate, but it doesn't really matter much because if this 5 to 6% of turnover involves senior staff, then the situation is totally different. If it's the junior staff who left, so can you tell us on an annual basis what are the years of experience of the people who have left? And also in paragraph 3 of your paper, honestly, I really find this paper unacceptable with just 3 paragraphs. I hope that the same thing won't happen again. Commissioner, if you just give us 3 paragraphs as explanation, I really have a right to condemn you. This is not acceptable. You know that we are really concerned about your work. So at least your colleague sitting next to you should have given us more information. Don't think that 3 paragraphs are enough. In paragraph 3, you said that you would report the situation to the committee if there's any change in the situation. Is it that you are not going to report to the panel? Is it that if you know of change, then you would discuss it with the committee only? Thank you. Let me brief you on our turnover situation. Mostly, the people who leave are at assistant officer rank. People who have completed 1 to 2 contracts, that is between 2.5 years and 5 years. For detailed analysis, I can provide you a paper later on. As for succession plan for ICAC, please rest assured, after I took up my job, that's my main task. I would, in the coming years, come up with good succession plan among our directorate grade staff. They're relatively young. On average, they are in their early 40s or early 50s. And secondly, we plan to that we won't get people of about the same age to retire at the same time. We will avoid that situation. We're trying to avoid that as much as we can. Mr. Chung Kwok-him. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chung. I'd like to ask the Commissioner about turnover rate of commission officers, ICAC officers. At this rank, the turnover rate is 38%. The contract lasted 2.5 years. I'd like to ask, why is it 2.5 years, not 3 years instead? And after the officers have completed their work, was there a chance for them to have their contracts renewed? And there's now analysis that often people leave their posts because other private organizations are offering them much better pay. So, as mentioned by other members, ICAC's work is very unique, and training is unique as well. You can't find similar kind of training elsewhere. So therefore, many private companies, organizations want to get people with these young people with such unique training. And that's why they hire them to give special help to the companies. So the 2.5-year contract, do you think that's something that needs to be reviewed? Because we have almost 40% of turnover rate among these officers. It's like you're training people for other companies, and then after they've gone, you're hiring new blood to train them all over again. So it's not really a healthy situation. Commissioner? Yeah, as for the figure, whether it's 38%, as you said, I need to calculate it later on. Our junior officers actually leave their posts more likely than those in senior positions. ICAC, when it was set up 39 years ago, it used the contract system. It has been using a contract system till now. It has been an effective system. There's a reason for the contract system, employment system, but we can review whether such arrangement nowadays is the best for us. But any change will have a far-reaching effect. Even though there is a turnover, but for our work, I wouldn't say that, because we see more people in junior ranks leaving, so I think the impact is affordable. The consequence is not that big for us. And of course, as for staff training and staff retention, we have done that too.
In fact, we brought to the attention of the Standing Committee on Discipline Services our wastage, staff wastage rate, and it was proposed that there should be measures to help retain staff. So we'll continue to deal with the situation. And in fact, not all all the staff members left joined the private sector. So in fact, it's not a situation that we see every year. I mean, our officers leaving the ICAC to join the private sector. Now, Mr. Pei said that the ICAC was set up about 40 years ago. So the system has been there for 40 years. And concerning the 2.5-year contract system, I think it should be reviewed. I think the remuneration is attractive because the entry pay is about $17,000 for those who have attained 5 passes in the HKCEE. But during that period, training is provided, and then maybe after the first contract, these officers join other government departments or the private sector. Now, I understand that the public sector organizations like the SFC do need similar people. But then, of course, I think the number they need is limited. And then investment banks, insurance companies may also need people with such expertise. Mr. Yu. I want to say that in fact there is a need for continuity with regard to ICAC investigations. And then what if in the middle of the investigation of a case, certain officers leave, and then Mr. Daniel Lee left the ICAC, and as a result, a successor was urgently needed, and he was in the middle of some investigation work. So I want to know whether he would be held somewhat responsible for that. Now, Mr. Pei, now usually when our colleagues want to leave the ICAC, they will give us some advance notice so that their work can be handed over to other colleagues, and also these officers are supervised by their seniors, and so there shouldn't really be a problem. And then concerning Mr. Daniel Lee, now in his agreement, there is a right for him to seek a curtailment of his service agreement. And in fact, before he left, he smoothly handed over his work and duties to his successor. Mr. Yu. But then, was that a breach of the contract? Did he need to provide compensation? Now, let's say if in the contract a 3-month notice period is provided for, then maybe in some cases 3 months salary in lieu of notice may be acceptable. But then it really depends on the content of the contract. Now, in concerning Mr. Daniel Lee's case, now there were 2 extensions, but then in June 2012 he requested that his service agreement be curtailed. Of course, I understand that he was merely exercising his rights under the contract. And the ICAC, of course, also acted in accordance with the contract. But then members are worried that the existing arrangements are problematic. When he had his service agreement extended, did he indicate that he only wanted short extensions, or was there a clear consensus between him and the management that he would remain for a reasonably long period of time so as to ensure smooth transition? Or was it that he decided to seek a curtailment of his service agreement unexpectedly, and and as a result, ICAC was not really adequately prepared to cope with the situation, Mr. Pei. Now, when Mr. Lee sought a curtailment of his service agreement, he acted in full accordance with the terms of the service agreement. That's the first point. Second, as I said in my introduction, now my understanding is this, because I was not involved in his contract extension or service extension, but at the time the understanding was that after the 31st of July 2012, Mr. Lee might still stay on for some time. That possibility was not ruled out. And then as to why he gave notice in June that he wanted to leave on the 19th of July, that was his personal decision. So I can only share with members my understanding of the situation at the time. So at the time, there was a possibility that his service would be extended beyond 31st of July, but then he sought a curtailment of his service in June. But then can I ask whether there was a suitable successor if Mr. Lee decided to leave after the 31st of July, and as a result, there was no need for to have Mr. Ryan Wong coming back to join the ICAC. Now, Mr. Lee gave notice with regard to the curtailment of the service agreement, and so at that time the succession situation was not satisfactory. One director only had 1 year of substantive experience, and our assessment was that this director was not qualified to fill the post of head of operations. So I must say that at that time, the succession situation to the head of operations post was a bit unsatisfactory. So if Mr. Ryan Wong decides to leave now, is it that there are suitable people to fill the post of head of operations? Now, Mr. Wong has signed a 3-year contract with the ICAC, and he and I have an understanding to the effect that the 2 directors will be groomed so that when he leaves, either one of them should be able to take up the post of head of operations. Mr. Yu. Now concerning reappointment of a retiree, I hope that the ICAC will review the arrangement. What if Mr. Wong also seeks a curtailment of his present service agreement? So the public will find that unacceptable. Now, because for senior officers, like the head of operations, they deal with very complicated high-level cases, and 3 months notice to leave the ICAC may not be enough for all the handover arrangements. Now, I allowed Mr. Yu to continue because he hadn't finished his line of questioning, and in fact I also used my time to ask some questions. All right. Now we've got 2 members, James To and Emily Lau, in the second round. Any more members? No. Then we'll have the last member in the first round, Mr. Lam Tai Fai. Chairman, it's undeniable that the work of the ICAC is extremely challenging. I've never worked in the ICAC, but I think I can fully understand the pressure faced by ICAC officers. Of course, they have to keep their work strictly confidential, and also their work has been politicized. Previously, there weren't so many reports, but I understand that today more reports are made to the ICAC, and so I am sure the staff have been subject to more and more pressure, and as a result, some may not be able to withstand the pressure. Some may decide to leave the ICAC. Now, and even when the economy was poor, the wastage rate was still very high. And if the economy improves, if there is a boom, then it will be even more difficult for you to retain your staff, because ICAC people are extremely qualified, they are cautious and prudent, and the business sector is willing to offer high salaries to get talents to work for them. Now, of course, recruitment and retention are your responsibilities. I'm not able to give you suggestions. But then if the wastage rate remains high, then more of your officers will join the business sector. Yes, I understand that they've signed pledges of confidentiality. They are cautious, but then they've investigated and dealt with so many highly sensitive and confidential cases. How can you make sure that such confidential information will not be leaked or indirectly leaked. Now, I believe there will not be any direct leakage, but what about indirect leakage? Mr. Pei. Yes, Chairman. Of course, we need to retain experienced staff. Of course, we want our officers to work in the ICAC till retirement. I understand that they work on agreement terms, but I hope that their agreements can be renewed, and they can stay till they retire. But of course, we do understand that our staff are subject to very great pressure. When I assumed office, I talked to the director of or the head of operations, and I said I was concerned about the pressure they were subject to. We have been stressing work-life balance. We have been trying to provide activities for them, and we hope that that will help to give them some relief from their work pressure. And we also hope to enhance their sense of belonging to the ICAC. So this is what the management has been doing. In the ICAC, we have a very fine division of labor. What I mean is that now, if a colleague is responsible for one particular case, he only knows the details of this case and not other cases being investigated by the ICAC. So it's really on a need-to-know basis. So we try to make sure that for staff who leave the ICAC, what they know is restricted to what they have needed to know. And as I've said just now, most of those who leave the ICAC are junior colleagues, and they don't really know too much, so to speak. And then also when officers join the ICAC, they have to sign the confidentiality pledge. That's the official secrets ordinance. And if they leak such information, then action will be taken against them. And have there been cases where officers who have left the ICAC have leaked certain confidential information? As far as I know, the answer is no. In fact, we all observe a very strict integrity standards.
Well, I think they should give us more information later on, information about the wastage rate, and who are in what positions or in acting positions, who are in directorate or senior but non-directorate posts. How long have someone been in an acting position for, and are there any posts that are yet to be filled? Just then you said that you've received more than 10,000 applications. So how many have you hired? So I think you need to come back again, Commissioner. You must understand, members are very concerned. I know that there are things beyond your control, but you are in your position now, and you're supposed to represent your department in answering questions. I'm not saying that you should criticize others, but you need to answer our questions. Society is concerned about, your organization. I think, Chairman, I hope that the Commissioner knows what we're saying. And just then, he kept mentioning the Advisory Committee on Corruption. Who's the chairman of the committee? Can you tell us what kinds of meetings have they held? And so the committee looks at succession issue, and yet, should we fire the members of this committee since that they haven't really seemed to have done much to ensure good succession? We don't have much information about this committee, but it seems that the committee really is not functioning well, not doing much. So I think if you can, you might want to invite the chairman of the committee to explain to us that committee should have overlooked the departure of staff and how to fill the post to be left vacant. Commissioner, can you introduce the committee to us? Thank you, Ms. Lau, for your concern about our work. I'm very pleased to answer questions here, and I can provide whatever information I can provide. So just stay assured. As for the Advisory Committee on Corruption, its chairman is Mr. Zhao Chongkong, and the committee is appointed by the chief executive. is terms of reference is to oversee the entire operations of ICAC. So there's no restrictions on what you can oversee or not. Of course, as for the succession plan, it is an area that the committee can look at. Just then, in the paper, as I said, my estimate is that on the whole, ICAC is still in a healthy and stable position. So you can rest assured, if there's any change in the years ahead, or if the situation becomes unfavorable, I would definitely report to this panel as soon as I can and try to get advice from you. Chairman, I find that the situation is unhealthy. A retired person was asked to take up a post, and just then I was asking what role the committee played in this issue of succession plan. Have they had meetings to give advice or meet to discuss succession problems? Commissioner, were they too busy to look into the matter? Well, Chairman, I need to look at the minutes of its past meetings to see what they had discussed. Right now, I can't recall. Well, Chairman, I hope that they can include in the paper what the committee had done, because the committee is supposed to look at the matter of succession, and yet it seems that, it has done nothing. I thought that the government had a good mechanism to deal with the matter, and yet it seems the mechanism is not working, given what's happened. Well, just then Emily Lau, mentioned the issue. I want to find out more about, I think it's your responsibility to look after succession, because that committee is an advisory committee. So I don't think the committee should be asked to make decisions on who should do what arrangements should be made for succession. Is that within its terms of reference? Yes, as I said before, the committee is supposed to and can actually give advice on all areas of work of ICAC. So it can give me advice. Of course, it's not supposed to actually make nominations on who should do what. That's my responsibility. But on the whole, as for our personnel matter, if there should be a serious wastage or serious issues with succession, then the committee is definitely in a position to give me advice. Yeah, but the actual decisions on, arrangements, what arrangements to be made in terms of staffing, then it's your job, right? Yes, of course. Yes, it's the commissioner's job, of course. But the commissioner made it plain that the committee had the responsibility to spot whatever problems there are and then let the commissioner know about it. So if they had spotted the issue of succession, they should have raised it with the commissioner. So the committee is obliged to look at potential problems. If it hasn't looked at the issue, then that means it has failed to exercise its duty. The committee is appointed by the government. Yes, understand. So, it may not be as serious as negligence, but I know what your point is. James Toh. Of course, my understanding is Mr. Zhao Chonggong is a new chairman, I think. So I think his predecessor, the former chairman and his former members, in theory, should have been concerned about the succession issue. Or if the former commissioner pay no attention to the committee, then of course it's the former commissioner's ultimate responsibility. But if the committee had made advice then to the former commissioner, then we need to find out who's at fault here. So we need to find out where the problems lie. But I hope that the existing commissioner or the future commissioner committee would be careful and not let the same thing from happening again. ICAC is supposed to be an organization of integrity, a fair organization, and I think succession needs to be fair too. If there's someone who could be in a position for as long as the lights, then that's unfair. and we should not allow that to happen. I think ICAC needs to give us information why the former commissioner would hire some or get some mainland scholars to carry out studies. I find that very strange. I think we need to have detailed papers given to us to ensure that the ICAC is acting fairly. Otherwise, your credibility, you have very, very good credibility now, but if you allow some things to happen, then your credibility could be affected. We need to be fair in whatever you do. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. To, you can rest assured that I will definitely be fair and just in our work. Besides investigation, internal administration, or corporate governance, staffing arrangement, I will make sure that they are all conducted in a fair and just manner. I will give you the paper with the information later on. Okay, any other questions? If not, then okay. Maybe, Commissioner, you can prepare the papers for us and give them to our secretariat later for circulation to our members. Well, I don't think we can decide on whether we should have a separate meeting on it now. We have to wait for the papers first. So let's wrap up that item. Thank you. The next one is next item is the replacement of 5 high-speed interceptor craft for Small Boat Division of Marine Region of Hong Kong Police. With us today is Undersecretary for Security, Mr. John Lee, Principal Assistant Secretary, Mrs. Millie Ng Kang Mei Nei, and Hong Kong Police Forces Regional Commander of Marine, Mr. Lau Yip Shing. Thank you. Welcome you all. I'd like to point out that according to our 83A of our rules procedures, members should not move any motion that's related or amendments or speak on this issue if there are any conflict of interests, unless members have declared their interests. So I'd like to ask members, if you have any interests or direct or indirect monetary interests involved, then please declare before you speak. Undersecretary, I'll give you time to take us through the paper CB 269612-13-06. Thank you, Chairman. The high-speed interceptor craft, in the police force, there are about 5 of them, but we're proposing replacing them so that they can continue to carry out all kinds of marine security work effectively, and also to clamp down on cross-boundary speedboat activities. HSIs are principally employed by the Marine Police Small Boat Division to intercept unlawful use of speedboats in Hong Kong waters. Many of them are engaged in illegal cross-boundary activities involving the movement of goods and people. HSIs are the only vessels in the government fleet that are capable of intercepting multi-engine typeface speedboats, and thus act as an effective deterrent. The HSIs proposed to be replaced is indispensable for intercepting multi-engine typeface speedboats, and also the high-speed craft also play an important role in marine anti-terrorism work and can help ensure Hong Kong comply with the Maritime International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. In order to ensure that the Marine Police are sufficiently equipped to carry out their maritime law enforcement responsibilities, we do have an urgent need to replace the 5 HSIs. The replacement HSIs will be the same size as the existing craft, that is 15 meters long each, but they will have an increased top speed from 60 to 60 knots, that is from 111 to 122 km per hour. And they will also have enhanced navigation equipment that can enhance operational efficiency and effectiveness. The replacement would incur a total of $141 million. That is, each will have 24, will cost about $22.8 million. And depending on members' views, the police commissioner intends to apply to the Finance Committee for funding in May. If the request is approved, we expect the new crafts to be in force or in use in April 2016. I welcome suggestions from members. James To. I know that the crafts must be replaced, but I'd like to ask about the functions of the crafts. Let me put it this way. This type of craft, when we, now you're talking about in paragraph 5, there are 3 functions of the craft. But I'd like to ask you, in your process of procuring, like your staff in the front line, have you consulted them on the craft to be found? Or have you look into what possible considerations there should be in procuring the HSIs? And also in 5C, the night vision capability, you said that you can detect contraband thrown overboard at night, but is it that the boat can have various ways to monitor whether there is one speedboat, or can they only spot one speedboat at a time, or spot activities in one area at a time? What is the exact function like?
Yes, Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. When we consider buying the 5 high-speed interceptors, or HSIs, in fact, starting from September 2010, we started consulting our frontline colleagues. And in fact, we changed our requirements a few times. Now, we wanted a high top speed, 60 to 66, because for a lot of Taipei speedboats, the top speed was very great. And also, even if the top speed is 66 knots at the moment, after 1 or 2 years, that drops to, say, 62 knots. And in fact, some colleagues wanted HSIs with a capacity of 16 people, but now we decided on 10. Now we had 5 colleagues on an HSI, and then we might need another batch of colleagues to carry out intercepting duties. So concerning 16, now we have 5 controlling the craft, and then other colleagues as well. And then there may be some arrests, and so 16 would be better. But then, as Mr. To has pointed out, the manufacturers may not be able to provide such large craft, and also the cost would be very, very high. So after repeated studies, after repeated visits, and after discussion with the Marine Department's procurement team, in June 2012, we decided on the present standards and requirements. And concerning the night vision capability, you are right. We are mainly talking about the scope. In fact, this is the thermal imaging function of or the night vision capability of the thermal imaging function. Now, at the moment, the night vision capability is rather weak. But then for thermal imaging, goods can also be detected. Like if there is a difference in temperature, that can be then there can be detection. But then, as you know, the engine of the speedboat generates heat, and as a result, there will be a temperature difference with the ambient environment. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Yes, Chairman. So, the craft or the craft is 15 years old, and so they need to be replaced. And then concerning recurrent expenditure, I just want to know whether you do provide for depreciation. Now, we hope that these HSIs can be utilized effectively. I would like to know how these HSIs compare with the top HSIs in the world. And then safety. You know, there may be Taipei speedboats in the sea. We have to consider the safety of our police officers. So is a hull made of aluminium alloy strong enough? Undersecretary. Yes, thank you. And I thank Mr. Yu for his questions. First of all, depreciation. We would receive capital funding, and so that but then concerning the we could achieve savings concerning maintenance costs, because when we buy the 5 new HSIs, then we'll no longer need to pay for the maintenance of the old HSIs. But because of the thermal imaging technology and also the new radar, it's a solid radar. Previously, we relied on a scanner which could move, but now it's a solid radar. And also, we're going to have a gyroscope. Previously, we didn't need to spend money on the maintenance of the gyroscope because there wasn't any, but now there will be this gyroscope. But then we are of the view that these prices are reasonable. And then I'll invite Mr. Lau to tell you whether these HSIs are the most advanced. I will address the point about safety. Now, in terms of safety, the new HSIs will not be inferior to the existing ones. And when we put our request to the Marine Department, we told the Marine Department that we would want better vessels, and the capacity would be 10 instead of 16. Now we are of the view that the hull should be strong enough. In previous operations, we knew that the hull would be strong enough, and of course the technology will be even better in the future. And then I'll invite Mr. Lau to address another question raised by the member. Yes, Chairman. Mr. Lee has already said that the top speed and the safety requirements can meet our operational needs. And considering whether we are the most advanced, the solid-state radar and the thermal imaging are really the best, enabling us to meet our future challenges. And then the top speed, 66 knots. I think this is really needed in Hong Kong waters. In fact, the top speed, for some vessels, the top speed is even higher. But I think 66 is enough to meet our operational needs and is suitable for the geographical situation of Hong Kong. So I want to say that what we are asking for is not inferior to the characteristics of vessels being used by other law enforcement agencies. Thank you. Mr. Ng Leung saying, now if we want to do our job well, we must have all the necessary tools and equipment. And so I support this proposal to upgrade our present HSIs to better ones. I'm concerned about safety in enforcement because law enforcement officers need to operate the interceptor, and they also need to be prepared for operations. So will there be adequate safety devices and measures in place to avoid accidents on the vessel or in the vessel? And then experience exchange. You've pointed out in para 7 that you need to also deal with incidents associated with cruises. So have you exchanged experience with authorities, for example, mainland authorities, which have experience in anti-piracy operations? Do we need to bring this up at the upcoming NPC meeting? Because there will be cruises visiting Hong Kong, and so if we can have more experience in maintaining a safe maritime environment for cruises, that would help to boost our image even further. And the Director of Audit has pointed out in a report that marine vessels cause a lot of pollution, including suspended particulates. I want to know whether these interceptors can meet emission standards, international standards. First of all, concerning safety, the police have a three-pronged approach. First of all, the design of the vessel must be safe, and second, training for the law enforcement officers. Operations must be effective as well as safe. And then the gear of officers, the equipment of officers. Now concerning the design of the interceptors, we do impose very vigorous requirements, and our existing HSIs are safe. We haven't detected any problems with the design of our existing HSIs. And when there were incidents that was caused by the other parties deliberately carrying out some activities which harmed themselves and the law enforcement officers. I want to say that these law enforcement officers have received special training. These our strategies can stand up to challenges. For example, we have two interceptors trying to catch the speedboat in the middle. So there will not be head-on collision. So concerning training, deployment strategies, I think we do adopt standards which are up to international level. Concerning the fuel, we of course will use fuel which can meet the government's requirements. So I don't think there will be a pollution problem. And then Mr. Lau can say something about exchange of experience.
Mr. Lau, the Marine Division actually does a lot every year in terms of exchange of experiences. We do liaise with enforcement authorities in mainland and overseas. We conduct mutual visits to share, and we share experiences with one another. We also dispatch our staff to places like Singapore, France, to see how they carry out their duties. All along, we've been doing this work, but we'll continue with it. Just Mr. Ng made some suggestions. We would look into them and see how we can enhance our work. And if necessary, we will arrange for other exchanges. As for James Toh, fuel. How about fuel? The question on fuel. As I said, we would comply with government standards. So the fuel, the safety of it will be ensured, and we try to comply with the environmental requirements as well. James Toh, I'd like to ask about paragraph 5C. Do you have records? Do you have recorded images? I mean, in terms of its function, that's apart from spotting. Do you also can put on tape as kind of an evidence? The image used as evidence? Yes, for this thermal images function, it doesn't have the taping function. Okay, I'd like to ask members, do you in principle support the administration's proposal to submit this item to the Finance Committee for discussion? No objection? Okay, then we approve it then. Then next item is on replacement of digital radar security system for Marine Region of Hong Kong Police Force. So joining the discussion again are the three officials plus Mr. Wong Chun Kao, Hong Kong Police Force's Chief Telecommunications Engineer. So I'm sure members have got the paper in front of you. And I'd like to remind members, if you have any direct or indirect monetary interest related to this item, please declare before you speak. No declarations? Okay. So now may I ask the Secretary to take us through the paper. Chairman, the police force proposes to replace the digital radar security system of the Hong Kong Police Force to prevent and detect crime at sea and to maintain effective maritime security. The DRSS was launched in 2003 and installed at the Marine Regional Command and Control Center, as well as the Small Boat Division of the Marine Region. Receives radar data from the vessel traffic services system of the Marine Department. The system will process the raw data and convert it into operational and navigational information to meet the specific requirements in maintaining law and order at sea. The system provides real-time information, and in terms of marine accidents or tragedies, the system can provide information to coordinate search and rescue operations. It can also help conduct marine traffic control during fireworks displays and other maritime events. The system has been in place for 10 years and its lifespan is about 13 years. And in 2011, the Electrical and Mechanical Services Training Fund examined the system and found that a number of its components were showing signs of aging, which might cause service interruption and affect the reliability of the system. To maintain maritime safety and stability in local waters, we need to replace the system. We would try to take advantage of the latest available technology to enhance the system in order to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our operations. The new system will have enhanced functions. For example, the capability of the new system will be greatly enhanced, and we can provide tracking functions and provide stable signals, and we can try to reduce the risk of losing important data. And the new system can also capture real-time signals and play back signal history simultaneously. This can avoid. It can help the police actually track the necessary information. The replacement cost will be a recurring cost of $39.785 million. And we intend to apply to the Electrical Finance Committee for funding soon. And if the request is approved, the new system will be in use in December 2016. Okay, James Tell, paragraph 7. You said the new system will provide more stability. According to my memory, back in 2003, I asked this question. At the time, the answer was that there was no problem with the system. I wasn't asking whether there would be instability in the provision of data. I asked whether the tracking was okay even in adverse weather, and the answer was yes. But I'd like to ask you, why is it that, well, you said that in adverse weather, then the system will be unstable. So, did you know about it back then, or had we bought the wrong equipment? Now you said the system will be upgraded. So, in what areas is the system upgraded so that it can be running with such stability, as you said? And also, in paragraph B, you said that individual DRSS terminals can only preview signals from 4 out of 13 radar sites at one time. But will there be trade-offs? Would there be other parameters that would be reduced? Well, because you may need a larger screen in the future. So would it be that ultimately we're just concerned about the trade-offs of this enhanced system? You know, if you watch 4 screens at the same time, that's quite a task. Okay, maybe you can view all 13 radar sites, okay, at one time. But in the future, do you really need to look at all 13 radar sites in terms of practicality? Or for someone experienced, or maybe at critical moments, maybe there are 3 or 4 people looking at the screens at the same time, and it's important for you to look at the whole picture. But now you said there are 13 radar sites, and you won't be actually looking at all sites at one time. But because we're talking about all different sites here, do you really have to look at them all at one time? What are the key advantages? Is that advantages that great? In actual experience, in adverse weather, it all depends on how bad the weather is. I think with the modern technology, any system we're talking about operating in normal situations. In extreme situations, of course, there'll be limits to the effectiveness of the system. It's just common sense. But for the proposed system, because of its enhanced processing power and its high level of visibility. It's like high definition and non-high definition vision. That's the key difference. Because of the high definition vision now, so even when at the time of a storm, I know at the time of a storm, smuggling activities will be rare. But of course, somebody would like to take the risk, a heavy risk. But in that situation, we need to see, say, if you say that the system will allow for perfect visibility in 100% of the time, regardless of the weather situation, without any defects. I think that's unrealistic. No system, even commercial systems, will be able to achieve that. So it's a matter of degree. In answering James Toad's question, under the current system, for example, if there are two boats involved in smuggling activities, because the system is not high definition vision, we may only see one spot or one large spot. When can we see a clearer picture? Is when more boats join or go to the scene, then can we see the actual happening of the event. So I wouldn't know there are two boats unless there are some other new factors there. But now we can see the picture much more clearly. Next one, Mr. Yu. And the paragraph 2 says that the existing system was in place in 2003 and is installed at the Regional Command and Control Center and the Small Boat Division. So it's been 10 years now since 2003. Have you reviewed the location of where the equipment is installed? Do you think that a different location may help enhance the effectiveness of radar inspection? And if the new system is to be in use in 2016, then based on point 4 of your report, the number of components are already showing signs of aging, and they've caused service interruption and affect the reliability of the system. Then what does that mean for the coming 3 years? What measures do you have to ensure that there will be no service interruption and that the system will remain reliable? Mr. Lee? Yes, in reviewing the new system, we need to see whether the size of the radars comply with our requirements. We see that is their actual area of coverage does comply with our requirements, and also it allows us to exercise our duties with confidence. Therefore, we're not really worried about the areas covered by the current system. So we are actually going to cover the same areas in the new system. As for your point about service interruption in the coming years, 3 years, what our interim measures are, well, the system is still functioning properly. We're just worried that because of the aging of some components or the inability to find new components to replace the old ones, because some components are no longer manufactured, and yet we still have a stock of components that can be used to replace the aging ones. Even if we can't find some aging components, we can get some old components from other equipment. In the existing maintenance service, in fact, every month there is a vendor who will come and see what components needs to be changed. The vendor has assured us that the system can be maintained. But if the system is not renewed, then in the future its reliability would fade. So at times of major incidents, then the radar size and we do have a backup option for the radar signals system. So therefore, we've got a backup system to cover the same areas that are covered by the current security system. We have other radars in place. Of course, there may be some functions that are actually declining, but we can actually dispatch speedboats to try to assess the areas not covered by the radars. So we're not too worried that in the coming 3 months the system would collapse, because so far we've only had 30-something minor incidents, and they did not involve major components. The incidents are mainly about the collapse of terminals or press buttons. So on the whole, the system is still reliable to us. Therefore, we're not too worried. Mr. Yu? Many of the systems nowadays are computerized. For machineries, you can fix them, but if a computer system malfunctions, and it'll be quite difficult to fix. So for the new system, should there be any problem with the computerized system, you need to have a backup option. Because radars, we don't want to see any service interruption in radars, and there could be a lot of side effects. I don't know whether you've considered, should the new system fail, do you have a backup option or backup plan? May I ask our colleague to answer the question? Thank you, Mr. Yu and Chairman. Yes, in doing system design, we look at both the hardware and the software. Computer systems often have problems in softwares, not necessarily in the hardware. So in our design, we would put in the tenders several measures to ensure that the system is designed in a way that it will stay reliable.
I understand that members are extremely concerned about reliability. First of all, concerning the main components, now we do have a backup. So if part A breaks down, then part B can act as a fallback. And then concerning the reliability of the system, that can be greatly enhanced through repair and maintenance. We need to have maintenance on a regular basis, and also concerning hardware and software, we know that they may break down after some time, and so there will be preventive maintenance as well. Mr. Leung Kwok-him. So that there will be a maintenance contractor, right? So will maintenance be done by a government in-house, or will there be a maintenance contractor? There will be a maintenance contractor, Chairman. So you're going to sign a contract with the contractor? Yes. Then can I ask you this question? Will the contractor be will have to show the civil liability if the system breaks down? Of course, we do specify the responsibilities of the maintenance contractor. There must be an adequate stock of backup components, the maintenance schedule, and also standards that must be met. And then if there is an emergency situation, we do require a contingency plan. And if the contractor can't discharge its responsibilities under contract, that would mean failure to discharge the obligations under the contract. So that would mean there will be a court case, a lawsuit. And when you go out to tender, what are the procedures? And can you show us a copy of the maintenance contract? What I want to say is that if the system breaks down, there will be very serious consequences. And even if you go to court with the contractor, you may not be able to prove that it is responsible. For example, 4 checks or inspections every year. What is meant by an inspection? I can tell you that I don't know about these things, but I'm just interested. And also the tendering procedures are very important, right? The agreement with the maintenance contractor. I think the tendering procedures are the same as the procedures for other government contracts. And also, I think our arrangements are the same as those adopted by other governments, for example, the U.S. government. Each department has a team to draw up the standards and the specifications and to monitor the performance of the contractor. And the team itself must have in-depth knowledge about the system, because because the department is eager to see the smooth operation of the system, and the department can't solely rely on the maintenance contractor. So the team must also know the system well. In choosing the supplier or the contractor, of course, we need to act fairly and transparently, and we also need to look at the qualification of the contractor. Usually there is a scoring system, and the scoring system looks at the tender price as well as the reliability of the service. And if the contractor can provide value-added service, then of course more scores will be given to that contractor or bidder. But of course, we must act fairly, openly, transparently, and will, of course, choose a well-qualified contractor. But of course, if the contractor deliberately defaults, then I'm sure we'll know of that or such intentions at a very early stage. So can you give us a copy of that contract or the tender document? If you can't, please tell me why. Because for public housing, we also have a scoring system. Yes, I will ask the relevant sections about this. Right? Do members have any further questions? No? No. So I've closely followed the discussion, and can I take it that members have no objection to this item going to FC? All right? But I hope that they can give me the information that I've asked for. How long is that going to take? Because I'm really interested. Chairman, I will talk to the relevant people, and I hope to give members a reply as soon as possible. All right? So the item will go to FC then. Item 6 or item 7 rather on the agenda, AOB. No AOB items. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.